Past players, past legends, past legends.
And tonight we're pleased to welcome Darren Potsy Weber, honourable member of our winning Shield side in 95-96. We will cover this year's as well, but a few of them got alcoholic poison at the moment, so we'll let them recover first. But Darren played 44 matches, 80 innings, 2,503 runs, highest score of 176, 400s, an average of 34. Welcome aboard, Potsy.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for asking me.
Mate, we'd like to get a bit of an overall feeling of what was your first taste of and memories of cricket back in the day, mate?
Oh, gee, back when I was a kid, you
Yeah.
talking that far back?
Yeah.
Probably the earliest memories, I'd say probably Viv Richards, David Hooks, those sort of guys. I actually was fortunate enough to have a game of golf with Greg Chappell a few weeks ago, and he was actually even a little bit before my time, so I don't really even remember watching those guys on TV, but Viv Richards and David Hooks, they were extraordinary.
So you progressed through district cricket, always regarded very highly, especially technically, and that go through to your Shield debut, mate.
How I went that day, or how I was feeling,
go through it. However way you want to go, Potsy.
Yeah, and how old were you at the time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I imagine I was maybe 22, probably 22. The thing I remember the most about my Shield debut, it was the 100-year centenary of Shield cricket, and it was South Australia versus New South Wales at Adelaide Oval, and there was a big celebration, and there was a dinner on the night before the game. And I remember sitting at the table before the teams come in, and it was my debut game, and Mark Waugh from New South Wales came in with somebody else, and I distinctly remember him just whispering to someone, "Who's that guy?" And so that's probably my biggest memory of that game. But then I think I got 30 odd in the first innings. But from memory, I think we got beaten, but it was a good game, a lot of good players. It was really exciting. But
yeah, playing full strength New South Wales sides, as Dizzy said back then, was harder than what Test matches were, and along those lines.
Yeah.
Right, let's go.
They had some good players. I also remember I met Don Bradman at that dinner, so that's a memory.
Yeah, that is a pretty big memory, mate. All right, it is the theme this week after South Australia winning the Shield. So your memories of the 95-96 final, Darren, where I'll say straight out, I reckon you're always a bit unlucky to be batting 3 like the kid at 3. I think Jamie should have batted 3. Buff was at 4, Jamie batted 5, Brayshaw 6. Yeah. So I think you're a little bit unlucky there. In general, Potsy, I think it would have been better for your career to have been batting 5 or 6, but that won't be thigh there. But what's your memories overall of the final? Obviously the nerve-wracking last day, etc. And Gilchrist's innings.
It was real good. That's right. And the thing I remember the most was just the excitement. It was just a really exciting time. I mean, as you say, batting at number 3, I didn't have my best personal game, but I was doing my best, and obviously got selected and enjoyed being part of the side. Leading up to that, comfortably 2, but maybe 3 years prior to that, we had a really, really good, consistent team.
Yep.
And the thing I probably remember the most was that we just all really got on really well as a team. And as that famous saying goes, a great team beats a team of champions. We'd made the final the year before, unfortunately got beaten in Brisbane.
You still should be in the doghouse for that. Bloody Queensland winning their first Shield, Potsy, yes.
So, I mean, that was an experience in and of itself. That was amazing. I mean, because obviously the home crowd there were right against us, and we copped a mouthful for 5 days in a row up there. But that was an incredible experience. And then to do well again the next year and get it at home, obviously, because we'd dominated most of the season, and then fortunately we hang on for a draw. But I remember Adam Gilchrist after the game, he said to one of the reporters, that he thought they'd dominated the game for the 5 days, but I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with that, because probably other than his innings, it was probably pretty even, but it's just late on that first day, and the next morning he just
took off, didn't
the
he?
whole different tone for the game. And given that happened, and he was so exceptional, we did really well to get a draw.
I think then those of us who followed Shield cricket had said, hey, there's this guy, Adam Gilchrist. He's gone from New South Wales to WA so he can keep. but geez, he's pretty special. And a few of us were nodding our head as he was smashing crap out of everything with that temporary grandstand with the rugby then. And his inning.
Hiding.
Oh, his 189. That's still one of the best innings I've ever seen.
Yep.
He was just
probably
incredible.
the best I've ever seen.
Yeah. And then the last day, Potsy was just, it was just so nerve-wracking the whole day. And, you think the crowd, the countdown of the number of the balls when Shane George and Peter McIntyre were batting and how many people were there at the end was incredible, wasn't it? Go wherever you like,
I was going to say, let's talk about that and the build-up to that sort of last sort of hour of play where crowd kept streaming in and what the sense of the feeling was around the change rooms.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't necessarily remember noticing the crowd get bigger because we're probably just completely focused on the game, And for the longest time, as players and observers, obviously with the tail enders in, you sort of don't dare to hope for the longest time.
Yeah.
You just sort of think you're waiting for the end to come.
Yeah.
And then when it gets down to 5 or 6 overs, you potentially start thinking maybe, but you're not really.
Yeah.
And even down to the last 3 or 4 balls, you're sort of thinking, can this be real? But the tension was obviously through the roof.
It was incredible.
And then when obviously after that last ball, when the whole crowd came onto the ground, that was remarkable. And it's a credit to the crowd, actually, when you think back. If a lot of people said on the media, on the news, people were in the city and hearing that there were a chance to draw the game. But the fact everyone left their offices and came down when we were 9 down still with an hour to go, that shows a lot of belief, doesn't it, that we were going to get there.
Misguided, really. I was still totally stunned how Georgie and Macca hung on. But
stories that legends are made of, really, isn't it?
Oh, it was. It was incredible. It was
obviously a classic game.
A couple other things, so Darren. One of my favourite memories of your career in terms of was an Adelaide Uni Premiership. Now the grand final was played at Uni Oval. I admit I can't remember why, but anyway, played East Torrens at Uni Oval, and so the footy club were in charge of putting the covers on each night. So obviously I was involved pretty heavily in that. And then after Uni had won, in terms of in the rooms afterwards, and Greg Legal Howe started a speech. Now, let's be honest, most guys when they talk 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Everyone starts to nod off. Yeah. But Legal speech was sensational. And you were actually next, I don't know if you can remember, Potsy, but you were next to the bin where those big bins where the beer was. And it was just nod at you and you'd pass the beers around. He spoke for over an hour and you could have heard a pin drop. Wow. And so while I remember Swaney getting wickets and that side of things and Uni winning, that speech is something I've never forgotten. And that just thinking, and Hooksy came in and did predict that Swaney would take 200 test wickets. Unfortunately, he's back after that. But your memories of that
that's a good summary rule book of that moment. I mean, obviously, anyone who watched the game or might have read about it or heard about it wouldn't have perhaps understood the context of Greg Howe's speech. But just seeing South Australia go 29 years without a flag, I think it was almost like 100 years since.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge number of years. Yeah.
And so we were big underdogs, and Greg had been secretary and on the committee of Uni for many years as a passionate supporter, just trying to keep Uni in the comp because we were going to get kicked out of the comp. And then so the fact that we got a good side together under Chris Owen, again, we had a really good team atmosphere, which again is the secret, right? And just have a good team where everyone supports each other. And that was obviously the environment we had for a few years leading up to that flag. And so the fact that Greg had put so much effort in as one of the committee members for Uni to stay in the competition and then we won, you just couldn't, he didn't have a microphone, but either which way you couldn't stop him talking, that's for sure. And the thing I remember most about that, he was literally hugging the shield the whole time. The trophy, he just wouldn't let go of it. So that just shows how much it meant to him. And it was a really exciting time. And David Hooks said a few nice words, which was good. And it's interesting when I was saying about David Hooks before, he's one of my heroes when I grew up, and that was one of his last years playing that particular year of district cricket. And I think he might have even stopped state cricket or maybe the year before. But it was when David Hooks actually resigned or retired from state cricket when there was a batting position that came up that I actually got selected the next year. So so that was the opening that got me started. So
now you also, Darren, gone through you go through and explain to our listeners the eye surgery you had, Darren, because it was pretty unique, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I was just sitting in my chair 2 nights ago, rulebook, thinking about how it's amazing that it's still effective. You know, like my eyes haven't deteriorated at all since I had that eye surgery. But I used to wear glasses for short-sightedness, so that means that you can't see things in the distance, right? And obviously that's not much good for picking up the cricket ball. And so I used to wear contact lenses when I was younger playing cricket, but it was often difficult because, you know, you get a bit of dust in your eyes or sweaty or whatever, and sometimes they twist around a little bit in your eye and you'd lose focus. So it was always something I had to manage. And I distinctly remember one game against Queensland where, for whatever reason, I can't remember if it fell out or I lost it, but I only had one contact lens in, and I had to go to bat, and unfortunately I got 56 or something. But I must have mentioned it to a reporter at the time, and it got in the advertiser that I was batting just with one contact lens, and that's when this eye surgeon contacted the SACA to see if I'd be interested in this revolutionary laser surgery. So I hadn't heard of it until that happened. But then I met the guy who talked me through it, and we went through it all. And it was a very frightening experience to have a laser, you know, zapping away and cutting at your eye. And it's very painful for a few days, but quite literally after a week. And ever since, I've never worn glasses or contacts ever since. And it's been an amazing benefit to my life, and for a few years while I was still playing cricket. So.
Yeah, so talking to your dad, where he said he could remember they're just so nervous beforehand, and but how the surgeon went through the procedure so thoroughly, sort of put you both at ease a bit with, let's have a shot at this. And it's been incredible success.
He was very professional, and I distinctly remember him saying, you know, for about 10 or 15 seconds, just make sure you don't take your eyes off that black dot. And so it was pretty highly motivating not to look away.
And so a week or so later, you said you were buying, and just right from then onwards, mate, basically.
I've never worn glasses or contact lenses ever since. And, you know, in the distance now, like 2-3 kilometres away, I was sitting on my deck. We've got a quite nice view from where I live now. And I can see trees on a ridge, you know, maybe 4 or 5 kilometres away, just quite clearly. So that's just completely different to how I grew up. And
would have been interesting if you'd had it earlier then, and that way. Who knows how much that would have helped? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Can I ask about your top score against New South Wales there of 145 on December the 9th? 176.
Yep.
In December of 97.
Yeah, so that was my second game when I got my highest score. No, sorry, I tell a lie. That was in my second year, and I got that at the Gabba, actually, the 176.
Right.
And Queensland had quite a good side at that stage, so that was a highlight of my career. I remember guys like Alan Border, Craig McDermott, Carl Rackerman, they were all playing then. And so obviously that's a big thrill to do that. The Gabba wicket, sometimes it can be difficult, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, it's about first, it can be sometimes, but then also if it's a little bit drier, it can also be a really good batting wicket. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that game. And it's a real highlight.
So Darren, out of that, go through. So who's your, what are you up to nowadays? And in terms of that, but also let's go through the best players you played with, against, all that side of things. You go whatever angle you like.
Yeah, okay. Oh, thanks, Ru. I mean, in terms of what I'm doing now, I stopped playing cricket when I was 26, actually, which is quite unusual. I knew you were young. Yeah, and so I only probably played, I can't recall exactly, to be honest, but maybe 5 or 6 seasons of Shield cricket, and had a couple of times when I didn't go so well and got dropped. So there was a few form slumps in that period, but I had a few good little stints as well, which I enjoyed, doing well. But one of the things which I struggled with a lot for the last 3 years was injuries. I had 3 surgeries on my knees, and for the last 3 years, I couldn't train properly. I couldn't do any running. In fact, ever since I had that first surgery when I was probably 23 or 24, I literally haven't done a lap around the oval ever since. I'm 55 now, so I still can't run. My knees are pretty well shot.
Yeah, join the club.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that really affected my enjoyment of trying to do well at an elite level. Like I remember in those years prior to games, I was having exploratory things like shark cartilage injected into my knees before a Shield game to try and have enough lubrication in my knees just to be able to run and walk. So it was not a lot of fun in hindsight when I look back. And at around that time when I was 26, I had the opportunity, a really good job opportunity to get into investment banking as a young professional accountant, and so it was a really good career opportunity for me. So it was a crossroads in my life, I guess, when you look back, the decision, do I keep trying to go through what I'm going through and try and play another 8 or 10 years of cricket with it feeling difficult, or do I take this other opportunity? So that's what I did back then, was I went with my career. And when you look back now as a sort of, 50-odd something sort of guy, I'm happy with that decision now because I learn a lot and have done really well with those skills I've learned in my life. Having said that, I really, really miss the elite level competition and the way you get tested against those guys that are obviously sensational cricketers. And a lot of people that end up playing for Australia and having great careers, when you think back now as an older guy looking back, it was obvious that the guys that did really well were just a little bit better than everyone else, and so it's not surprising to have seen all the people I played with, the guys that have gone on and done really well. So that's what I did since I've left cricket. But in terms of the best players I've played against or with, no doubt I played a lot of cricket with Jamie Siddons, but to watch that guy's intensity, just his intent in terms of training and commitment to excellence, he could have easily had a completely different career, had he potentially have got picked for Australia earlier in his career. For whatever reason, it didn't happen, but he was a remarkably talented athlete, both physically and mentally, and many people talk about it, just the most remarkable fielder that you'll ever see. So he was incredible to watch and a big inspiration to play under, just in terms of work ethic. And so the most difficult bowling spell I ever faced was against Joe Angel, actually, at the Wacker.
He got bounced, didn't he? Bounce off a length,
Yeah, and so that particular day, I was batting at 6 when I first got into the side. And so I was in against a new ball at the end of the first day, and the Fremantle doctor was up and he was charging in, and that was frightening. I remember one bouncer coming straight at my face, and I literally got my glove in front of my nose, at the last millisecond, I think. But so that was probably the fastest, scariest bowling I've ever faced. Interesting, another good story was when I was trying to get into the side as a young cricketer. I don't know if you ever remember the Adelaide Oval indoor cricket nets.
Yeah.
And it's not much fun in an Adelaide winter facing fast bowlers in those indoor nets because with a new ball, because if you get hit, it stings a bit. And I remember facing Shane George, Dennis Hickey, these guys that were really quick in the net. And
Dennis Hickey was lightning before he did his back. He was so quick. Yeah,
they were so quick, and so I was a young guy, and I imagine I got put in the net against the best bowlers because the coaches wanted to have a look at how I'd go or whatever. But at the time, it was when Tim May was bowling really well for Australia, and he was bowling in that net as well. And I distinctly remember that I couldn't lay bat on his balls, like they were spinning and bouncing and drifting, and he was bowling arm balls, and so I was handling the fast guys okay, but Tim May in the indoor nets, that session, I couldn't hit the ball.
You're not the only person to struggle batting against TBA May, mate, over the years.
So that was a very interesting experience, given that normally in the indoor nets, it's the quicks that you don't really want to face.
Yeah. Hey, Darren, some great highlights. Obviously, the Shield win. It was huge. Finally, 29 years later, we finally win another one this week. It's been an awesome week in Adelaide.
What a great win. I mean, to get behind the 8 ball again when everyone didn't expect it and have to chase 270 and then be 3 for 20 odd. What an amazing partnership.
The partnership between Kez and Sanger was fantastic. And
well done.
There was a bit of touch of irony, Potsy, that there's a Shield moron in myself that I had to leave at tea because I was working at Nord. And I'm thinking as I'm leaving, as a Shield moron leaves, all these Johnny-come-latelys were coming in. So, it was a bit ironic and a bit frustrating in that regard. But, a fantastic result. And obviously still great memories of 95, 96, and just I think that is still the most nerve-wracking day of cricket I've ever tried to watch for the whole day.
Yeah, amazing game to be part of it. When I look back personally, I'm very, very fortunate to have won 4 premierships, if you call the Shield a premiership, in my short career. So I stopped playing when I was 26, and we won 3 premierships with Uni in that period.
Yeah, Uni had a real. I was thinking then, as you said, obviously I remember that the one at Uni in particular, but yeah, Uni did have a real strong run there for a while.
Yeah, and again, it was a great team rule book. Like we just all played for each other, cared about how each other went. And I distinctly remember when I was playing for Uni at that time. Obviously, if you got out for a duck or 1 or 2 or whatever, you'd get upset and do a lap around the oval until you didn't have the shits on anymore. But if one of your mates made 100, you'd literally enjoy the night just as much as if you'd made 100 yourself. We were a really good, tight team, and obviously the fact that we had a good team at Uni and we had a good team with the stateside during those few years, it's not surprising that you win the trophies when you're all working hard together and got a good ethic. So obviously the coaches, whoever's running those setups at that time, helped to create that, but sometimes it can be a little bit elusive. But that'll be the one thing that I probably remember most from my career, is just the enjoyment of being in that environment when everybody's going and putting in their best effort for a team win. And it seemed like it was, as an observer, it seemed like that was what it was like for South Australia over the last couple of years as well.
No, well put, Potsy.
Who was the biggest joker in the locker room during that period?
Oh, good question. Who might that have been? Buff was always.
Yeah, I was going to say Buff, where Buff tried to release the tension a bit, where he dressed as the mummy on the last mummy and that sort of thing.
Tim May was always pretty sharp with a few jokes.
The one-liners. Yes, nothing's changed in that regard too, Potsy. He's facing his health demons at the moment, but caught up with him a few weeks ago. Tim was over from Texas, and the one-liners were still very much out in force.
Flowing thick and fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Darren, greatly appreciated, mate. And
it's nice of you to ask me for a chat. Yeah.
Yes, I reckon it's only probably about a decent screw punt from my place to your mum and dad's place. So,
yeah, that's right. Dad said that he enjoyed catching up. So.
Yeah, greatly appreciated, Potsy, and touch base again soon.
Yeah, all the best. Thank you very much for talking.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Potsy.
Nice
Thanks, Potsy. Appreciate it.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe.